the 60, where is the highest ranked in the worldwide. And also, if you see other reports, where it is the GIM report, which is the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, and also if you see the IMD report, you will see the huge jump that happened here in Saudi Arabia. I would like to invite all of you here and understand the situation for everybody life here in the kingdom and also outside the kingdom, the world all connected together, where we can provide the right value.
Welcome again to Young Entrepreneurs Alliance. Greetings to all our audiences that are still joining us from all around the globe. It's my absolute pleasure, Amal, Dokhan, the CEO of the Global Entrepreneurship Network, to be hosting this session. We will be discussing about building and replicating successful entrepreneurial ecosystems. Entrepreneurial ecosystems are emerging, they're popping around the globe in different ways, in different means, depending on different needs as well. And sometimes it requires a lot of knowledge and resource sharing, a lot of mentorship and coaching, a lot of sustainability model that needs to be built around it. But the question that we want to ask today is, do we need to replicate these models, or do we need to recreate? We wanted to share those unique experiences that our dear panelists today actually are bringing to us, and they're going to share it, with all of you. And joining me in this session is an amazing entrepreneurial panel. We've got Dr. Zeger Degraeve, who's the Executive Dean at Prince Mohammed bin Salman College. Very nice to have you. Dr. Neeraj Sonalkar, Head of Entrepreneurship and Innovation Ecosystem basically he runs these innovation research at Stanford, and he runs extensive research on empathy and in designing ecosystems, and he will be sharing a lot of experiences also with us today. Dr. Sarah Ghaleb is the Head of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Saudi Aramco Entrepreneurship Center, WAD. Daniel Ouimet, he is also running as a Senior Vice President in the Entrepreneur Canada. And last but not the least, we've got Mr. Hattan Ahmed, Head of Entrepreneurship Center at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. Welcome to you all. It's been a pleasure having you, and thank you for tuning in. And we're going to start our discussion with Dr. Neeraj here. You've been researching the creation of entrepreneurial ecosystems. You've been lecturing in Stanford about that. You've co-authored lots of papers on empathy and understanding the needs of every ecosystem and what it takes really to build those ecosystems. So we'd like you to share a little bit really about your work and what you do in order for other ecosystems to benefit from that experience, and what should we consider when we think of building an entrepreneurial ecosystem. To you, Dr. Neeraj.
Thank you, Amal. Thank you for having me. So that's the great question. The work we have been doing is looking at human behavior and looking at what goes on at the human level when we are creating entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystems. To answer your question, if I were to think about the topic of this session, what we have found out and what I really believe is that it's not really a manufacturing model. So we cannot really replicate a successful ecosystem like Silicone Valley. It's not like you have a car and you make a second car. It's more of a biological model. And the metaphor we use for ecosystems is that of a rainforest. So we can have a rainforest in Amazon, we can have a rainforest in Borneo, we can have a rainforest in Saudi Arabia. That would be fantastic. But these rainforests would be different. And the key thing is, how do you grow this forest? How do you grow this ecosystem? And the work we do is to really think about people, their aspirations, and how do you develop spaces for people to come together and work together collaboratively. A key part of that, when we are designing these spaces, is to create opportunities for people across disciplines to come together. And that's what we call as a liminal space, where different disciplines collide. And there is a healthy discussion, a debate at times, where ideas combine together and merge together to develop new ventures, new companies and so on. So developing these spaces that could be as small as a campus, or an organization, or as large as a city, becomes important.
That's great to know. And you've got, to mention a lot the word empathy. And I think
Yes.
it's interesting when we look at the building the ecosystem, how does empathy play a role is it at the early stage? Is it during? Is it a continuous work of iterative, ecosystem building and changing, and having that agility model? So if you can highlight that also more.
Certainly, yeah. I think if I reflect on empathy, I think empathy is a soul of an ecosystem. It actually plays an extremely important role. When we talk about innovation ecosystems, they are not necessarily driven by technology. Scientific research and technology is crucial, and that's the part of invention. But when we are talking about innovation and entrepreneurship, it's about people coming together, having conversations, doing deals, building things together, and empathy and trust underpin them all. So that is definitely important. And what we do is we create activities, opportunities for people to share experiences, to try out new behaviors through which they gain empathy for each other. So entrepreneurs getting an empathy for investors getting empathy for entrepreneurs, for scientists, that becomes extremely important.
That's really interesting. And it really represents, I think, the deep research of humanity and understanding their needs and basically providing it. And it's very also nice that you mentioned how we need to empathize also with investors. So as entrepreneurs that want to pitch and want to be heard, you need to also empathize and understand that. And
Yes.
It's very interesting you mentioned also how, the essence also is empathy, but also innovation and continuous innovation that happens in these entrepreneurial ecosystems. And you've said that it's driven by the power of law. So can you unpack that a little for us over here?
Yeah, certainly. So I think a few things I mentioned. So the power of law, and you can think of it law as a legal framework. And from that perspective, it is extremely important that a lot of the interactions and negotiations that happen need to be underpinned by trust. And trust is many times anchored in a legal framework in a particular region. So if the legal framework is more facilitative of capital being shared, it's facilitative of businesses being started, as well as it's facilitative of businesses being shut down when they are no longer working, that helps tremendously. And if it is not doing that, that can be a big obstacle to developing a healthy ecosystem. So that's one thought I have. The second thought is that, you can think of this power law distribution. So in our research, when we look at ecosystems, what we have come to recognize is that they are complex systems. And a key characteristic is the power law distribution, or the exponential nature of the ecosystem. So what it means is that most of the outcomes will accrue to a very few people or ventures or organizations. So a very good example of that is, let's say, the current situation with COVID vaccines. There are 150 vaccines in play right now, and the whole world is waiting with bated breath for a vaccine. But about 10 of them are in the final stage, the trial stage. But most of the results of that venture or that innovation activity will accrue to the top 2 or 3 that get to the market first. They are the ones who are going to capture the market, and that they are the ones that we benefit from. If you are the vaccine maker who is 10th in line and who is successful, you won't capture that market, or you won't have that effect. So a key part of this entrepreneurial ecosystem or innovation ecosystem is that there is going to be failure. There is going to be failure of businesses. There's going to be failure of ventures. So what do we do about that as ecosystem builders? How do we design an ecosystem to actually, be resilient in face of that? And at a human level, even if ventures fail, we don't want human beings to fail. We don't want entrepreneurs as individuals and their families to fail. We want them to be successful. We want them to learn and go on to do their next activity, their next job, their next company, which means that we need to design these mechanisms which revolve people, which revolve talent, and the learning that accrues from failure accrues at the systemic level.
Absolutely. And I think, it's pretty obvious. This is a dear topic to my heart, designing these experiences and designing ecosystems. And I really like the fact that you closed with, the failure, as failure is normally not taught a lot, right? And it's actually, it has to come by design within the theory of building the ecosystems, and it has to be accepted and all of that. And maybe that takes me and turns me back to Dr. Zeger over here, to understand what is the importance or the power of education or entrepreneurial education in reshaping those mindsets, from your experience today at Prince Mohammed bin Salman College. You are creating those leaders, entrepreneurial leaders that the kingdom is awaiting for, and they're going to be passing this knowledge, to so many in their organizations or whether through the companies. So can you kindly share, with us, your experience in the education, that you're actually part of today at the college? Dr. Zeger.
Thank you very much. The school is really built on the premise that if you want students or people to understand entrepreneurship, you have to put them in there. They have to do it. And as an exponent very much of Vision 2030, quite an exciting vision where we really cater towards its realization, it's to foster value creating opportunities while our students are doing it. So throughout the teaching programs that we have, and these are our executive MBA programs and our pre-experience master and management program, we have project courses. One of them is called our signature learning experience, and it takes place over the course of a full year, where students go through the complete process of entrepreneurial activity, from ideation to startup to scale up. Also, there's a module on corporate entrepreneurship. Our students practice within organizations, within entrepreneurial ventures, apply the learning also, start then from that learning often their own businesses, and move then towards our venture lab. We are one of the few licensed incubators in the kingdom where our students can start ventures with support services, mentorship, financial support services, legal support services that allow our students actually to experiment, allow for failure. Which we actually also encourage. We actually want our students to fail and fail quickly. That's education, because they will fail in a safe environment from which they learn and then can move on, build the resilience that Neeraj was talking about, and eventually adopt their business models towards a successful business model. We do that without any personal consequences for our students in an environment. That's in summary, we teach our students how to think about value and value creation and how to do it, how to execute. That's the power of education.
Absolutely. I've had the pleasure of experiencing that and teaching that in the college at a certain period in my journey. And it was a pleasure seeing how this can be actually integrated within an education system where you draw that journey that allows for all of the topics that you just said and all the mindsets, starting from ideation, knowing how to think. So that mindset get to be cultivated. And maybe that takes us also to that partnership as well, between the college and Babson College as well. How does that cross, knowledge transfer work, where you're actually building those local talents, the Saudi talents and the regional and the international one. You've got quite a diversified cohort. So, and at the same time, you're also taking an international experience, to embed it within that model. So I wonder if you can share, the light as well a bit on that, because I know that there's a lot of entities that think, of how such a model would work.
Yeah, we are small, but we want to be the best. We want to be the preeminent business school of the region, and we are looking for credible models. There is not a better model than Babson College in the US for entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship education. It is simply the leading school in the world for entrepreneurship. So that's the model that we have adapted, and Babson College is one of our partners in the school. We have more, but this is our educational partner on which model our education is based. We will have small groups, a highly personalized education where we actually aim for high impact rather than so making a big difference. Each and every one of our graduates makes a big difference, starts their own businesses, starts initiatives in organizations, creates opportunities for other people, and significant visible opportunities, rather than do the law of large numbers very much in our
Absolutely, and they're kind of unique, and we've seen them taking and leading projects, around the kingdom. And I know that we will be seeing more and more, from MBSC as well, in terms of more, as you said, you're focusing on that kind of smaller groups that will have a high impact. And I know that we're seeing more and more coming to the way. And that takes us to the neighboring institute next to you, to King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, to Mr. Hattan here, who's the head of the Entrepreneurship Center. Again, a previous home for me that still remains a home. And we want to have and know and share that unique model, of CAUS, where you've got the research facilities, you've got the students that comes again from different parts of the world, you've got the economic development, the entrepreneurship center, the accelerators, the reach and the community work. That formula, Hattan, how is it being, done? How is it being sustained by CAUS? So please share, a bit of that story with us today.
Sure, Amal. Thank you for having us. I'm glad to be here. So, as you mentioned, Amal, and you've been here before, CAUS is a science and technology institutions focused on graduate studies in key 4 research trust areas: water, food, energy, environment, and recently added digital. And we have world-class research facility and faculty members. We're proud that over the past 10 years, although CAUS is relatively young, over the past 10 years, CAUS overtook the position of first number of terms of citation per faculty members over the past 4 years. And we're really proud of that. But one other key thing as a second mission for CAUS, so the first mission is to obtain research excellence, but the second mission is to create economic impact, is to cultivate that research outcomes and convert it into products, solutions, startups, and activities, licensing opportunities that can be transformed into products and solutions that we can feel and touch and also experience. So with this, CAUS has developed an entire kind of embedded ecosystem, if you will, with a wide range of portfolio of service in order to support that kind of journey or transition of technology from the lab all the way to the market. And what happened is that there's the Technology Transfer Office, the Innovation Fund, where they invest into startups in exchange for equity, especially in the deep tech kind of startups. And also we got the infrastructure where we host wide range of portfolio from large companies to small companies, medium and startups, in order to propel that kind of movement of innovation and economic development in the country. And as far as the entrepreneurship is concerned, we focus on the mindset of people and on the mindset of the students that we deal with in our classes. And also we're outward facing. So we deal with wide range of different universities within the kingdom in order to exchange that knowledge, because we believe creativity and innovation is born in the air, in the exchange of engagement with different students at different levels. So we look at Chessbrus funnels from the top all the way to the bottom, where we work on the ideation activities, the hackathons, the innovation challenges, to immerse those students into real life challenges that they can address once they go to the workforce. But also we have really kind of let's say high touch, low volume activities where we run, let's say, classes and elective courses for students in order to immerse them into the commercialization journey and then transform those intellectual properties into products as an experience or a journey that they would go into. And what we have seen is that really great conversion that goes from that class as educational platform all the way to the accelerator program, Taqaddam, which is done in partnership with Saudi British Bank. And we would love we enjoyed the experience with them in order to cultivate high impact, high quality startups that we curate for the investment community. Along that journey, of course, we can't do this alone. We deal with a lot of partners. You already heard me mention multiple partners that I talked about, like Saudi British Bank as a key partner for our flagship accelerator program. And actually, even our respected panelists in here, we work with them in one way or another. So we partnered with Stanford on our flagship program, which is Entrepreneurship for All. And recently, we've just launched this program over as a strategic initiative from our leadership, where we wanted to roll out entrepreneurship as a mandatory requirement for all CAUS students. And the goal, of course, not to convert students into entrepreneurs, because they're great scientists, and some of them, they would love their science and they wanted to pursue their career elsewhere. But we believe that entrepreneurship, and we define it at its product spectrum, where it's the very wide understanding and the mindset where they can spot those non-obvious opportunities on their lab bench or on their office desk, in their career choice of preference. And then we wanted to equip them for the job market, to complement them with the set of skills that they would require to take that. And not only in the programs that we run, but also in terms of investment. And we would love to co-invest with the different ecosystem players. So one of the key players that we work with here, Sarah, and the Ouimet team, the amazing Ouimet team, where basically we co-invest with them into different startups. One of the companies that was co-invested by KAUST and Ouimet was UnitX. And basically, it's a joint effort, or basically what UnitX does is basically they provide enterprise solution using AI for different sectors within the industry. So they have an education and a solution providing kind of mandate they push towards the market. They're doing really great in the local market, but also there are some other areas where like Red Sea Farm, where they are growing tomatoes using seawater and building state-of-the-art greenhouse. And that was also co-invested with KAUST and RPDC. So the partnership model is embedded from its foundation within KAUST DNA from day one on all different fronts, whether at the research front, and there is amazing or wide range of collaboration activities across the globe, but also in terms of the economic development and the ecosystem development end, where we partner with key players. Recently, we've been working, and Amal have been working with Gen Saudi, Gen Global, and MISC Foundation on the Entrepreneurship World Cup that just ended a couple of weeks ago. It's an amazing experience. We run the boot camp for them, and we would love to attract those talent, those kind of technologists to the kingdom as an area or a fertile ground for development, investment, market development, and so on, in order to see those opportunities flourish and grow over time. So in a nutshell, it's like we're trying to build it as we go. And I second Neeraj on the co-creation concept in the ecosystem development, where we need to play to our strengths as a nation, as an economy, as an ecosystem, and leverage that. And what better than the brilliant youth that we have in the ecosystem, that they're always really blow us away with their creations and inventions in all the different programs we run, but also with the key strengths that we have into the market and the key challenges as well we do have, like the water, food, and energy and environment, where there is amazing opportunities to capture and move forward with it.
Beautiful. Well, what I am hearing here is a story of evolution over time, where things have started with research and it evolved to all of the activities that we're seeing KAUST part of, in the globe and in Saudi as well. And maybe that's a very interesting point here, that, how these, co-creations that happens with other entities could be really one way to diversify and to really reach the right talent as well. And from that model, we moved to another model, for Entrepreneurs Canada with Dan here, who also have worked over time with entrepreneurs, that entity that cultivated entrepreneurship, worked on a lot of, legislations and policy recreation as well. We would like to, to know a little bit as well about that journey and that experience. But I do hear, in general, that we're hearing a lot of partnerships and a lot of co-creations, as a theme of today, and evolution. So to you, Dan, please share that experience if you don't mind.
Thank you, Amal. Collaboration is critical when you talk about entrepreneurship. There's no question on that. And I'm going to get back to that in a second, but I'd like to start off by saying hello to all of our G20 YEA, Young Entrepreneur Alliance, delegates across the country. And say hello to them throughout the world. We're disappointed that we're not able to gather today in Saudi Arabia, but we're looking forward to seeing everyone very soon. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all of you. Salam alaikum, bon après-midi, mesdames et messieurs, et hello everyone. I'd also like to say thank you, express gratitude to Prince Fahad for hosting us today. He's done a tremendous job. Him and his team have done a tremendous job to pull us all together. It's not easy to organize a global summit of this magnitude. And so I just want to express my appreciation on behalf of the G20 YEA for that organization and his efforts. I also want to just quickly say, send out our prayers and thoughts to those in Nice who were victims of this violence recently. And Nice was the host of the G20 YEA Summit in 2011, and it's a wonderful city, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. Finally, getting into entrepreneurship, good health is critical for entrepreneurship. So just touching on the subject of the day, the elephant in the room, if you will, the coronavirus and the global pandemic, there are three pillars really that facilitate economic activity: physical health, mental health, and economic health. And all three of those are intertwined. And it is key that we get this under control, and all of us play a role in that. And if we don't contribute to the solution, then we're part of the challenge. And we're part of the challenge of getting our economies back on board. So I just wanted to start off with that. But if we look at a sustainable entrepreneurial ecosystem, I might just shift over to three other pillars that are critical. Collaboration, as we touched on, need for access to capital, and then also support systems and wraparound systems. And that's where Futurepreneur Canada, the organization that I represent, comes to bear, as well as the G20 YEA. We advocate as the G20 YEA for access to capital and support systems throughout the globe, throughout the G20, but also throughout the globe. And that is critically important. If I think about Futurepreneur, for example, within Canada, what we've done, we're a 25-year-old organization, so we've been around for a little while. We've supported 14,000 approximately business creations within Canada. And we focus entirely on the 18 to 39 demographic, so young entrepreneurs. And you can ask, why is that we focus in on there? Because there's a gap. We focus in on them because there is a need for access to capital that otherwise wouldn't be satisfied in the market. If we look back 25 years ago, there was a strategy. A couple of major Canadian financial institutions got together, and they decided that they needed to create some energy, some drive amongst young entrepreneurs, push the demographic, the entrepreneurial demographic down, so to speak, so that we have a longer life cycle of entrepreneurship that can contribute to the ongoing economy and economic activity. If we look at the type of entrepreneurs that we support, we go from Main Street right up to high tech. We have a number of unicorns that we funded over the years that have gone beyond us, but we also have a lot of Main Street activity that we contribute to. And why is that important? Because you need a rich economy across the board. You can't just have a Google without having the support systems in place and the social infrastructure in place, and that is contributed to by entrepreneurs across the board. So that's critical need. And if, again, we look at Futurepreneur and what we've done, or what we do, we provide non-collateralized loans to young entrepreneurs. That's an important aspect. Young entrepreneurs who don't have a track record, they don't have the collateral, they need to access capital somehow. Commercial lenders typically won't do that. They're not in the right space, so there needed that space to be created. And within Canada, we created that space 25 years ago. If we fast forwarded 7 years, 7 years, the financial institutions decided that the collaboration needed to be larger. And that's where the public policy conversations came into play and getting governments involved. The government of Canada, we're very fortunate in Canada. The government of Canada dove in full bore with support for Futurepreneur Canada and saw this as an important mission, not just for entrepreneurship, but again, across the social fabric of Canada. And since 2002, when we initially started that collaboration with the government of Canada, that has expanded to provincial governments across Canada and major corporate entities across Canada. And that goes back again to the collaboration that's critical in the ecosystem. There are other organizations that take entrepreneurs from where we start them or we support them to start onto higher levels, ecosystem incubators and other entrepreneurial systems. There are feedstock that comes from academic institutions as well. We collaborate with many academic institutions, and those incubators, on-campus incubators, feed us entrepreneurs where we can support them with financial measures that they wouldn't otherwise have. The other critical component I'll touch on, and then maybe I'll hand it back to you, Amal, is the support systems that wrap around. And the collaboration is part of that, obviously, because you have the incubators, you have the academic institutions, you have other players in the system, VenCaps, et cetera, that collaborate, and they do it in a very targeted manner. What we do across the board and what we think is tremendously important is to have a support system for every entrepreneur. So every entrepreneur that we fund in part to mitigate our risk, but also as an important support system, because we don't want entrepreneurs to fail if they launch. We want them to succeed, we want them to grow, and we want them to go global if that's what their ambition holds and that's where their company can play a role. So within that, every entrepreneur we fund is required to take on a mentor. And that mentorship relationship we feel is critical, because then you don't have one brain running the company, you have multiple brains running the company. And you have somebody as a sounding board, you have somebody to support you, somebody to advise you and question your activities. And that's critical as an entrepreneur, because as much as we entrepreneurs believe we always know what we're doing and we always know where we're going to be going, that's not always the case. So it's critically important that we have access to capital, and we collaborate with corporate entities, with not-for-profit entities, with government entities, but we also need those support systems in place. And that, if you have those parts integrated at the front end, we can create the feedstock that we hand off to the venture capitalists, to the other incubators, to the other ecosystem players, and they can also play a role in the growth. We don't own the entrepreneurs that we support. We think it's a global community, and that's why we're doing what we're doing domestically within Canada. That's why we're involved in the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance. That's why Futurepreneur Canada is involved in Gen Global and Youth Business International. We believe there's a healthy linear process for entrepreneurs: ideation, getting people involved in entrepreneurship, and then supporting them as they grow through to, if that's their ambition, grow through to global activity.
Very impressive, and thank you for your generosity actually in sharing all of these, amazing lessons, a journey of over than 25 years, a quarter basically of a decade, right? Or a century, basically. I think, what you mentioned also at the end, the power of creating that support system for entrepreneurs is quite an interesting one, as mentorship obviously plays a huge role. And, maybe the secret is to admit always that you don't know what you don't know, right? And to really keep asking and asking. And I think that's the secret sauce of all of the institutions that have evolved over the years. And moving forward, to actually talk about how do we sustain these amazing models that we just heard, these 4 experiences from 4 different institutions. And we have here Dr. Sarah, who's basically an advocate, in social innovation. She's also leading activities in WIDE, Aramco. And at the same time, she also knows a lot about data and analytics. And that discussion, is always avoided, I think, in so many platforms, or actually, it's an afterthought sometimes. And I think that I will direct that question to you, where do, data play a role in creating and sustaining those entrepreneurial ecosystems, and how do we, or at what point really do we need to start tracking or collecting data? Is it before, after? So to you, Sarah, knowing that you've lived, most of your life in San Francisco, so now you're really working and passing that knowledge over here. So please, if you don't mind sharing a little bit on that.
No, not at all. Thank you so much, Amal, for having me. And it's been refreshing to hear the different perspectives from the panelists. And I want to say a special thank you as well for the G20 YEA for this opportunity. I hope not running away from data and analysis, because it absolutely should be a core. And yes, my background as a statistician also in DC before coming here 7 years ago, I am proud to say, I know at the Aramco Entrepreneurship Center, WAID, of course, is an initiative of Aramco. And we were established in order to address a need in the market to narrow the funding gap and provide entrepreneurs with opportunity. And so we were blessed to have adopted this culture of KPIs and data analysis as part of our DNA. From our mother company. And I think that we do this exceptionally well. And it's interesting, our MD, Mr. Wasim Basrawi, he's absolutely a visionary, to the point where in the first week that he was here with us, he said, Sarah, I have an idea. I want to build a command center with LED screens that we can showcase all of our dashboards. And it was brilliant, because data analysis and KPI tracking and development, it's at our core, and it should be at everyone's core. It's a visual representation of your achievements, and it's powerful and informative, and it gives your data a voice. So dashboards, ongoing reporting, analyses, and identifying effective variables that are influencing your success they're critical. And this is what needs to happen, for all of our ecosystems. And I'm proud to say that our loan and VC combined has 90 portfolio companies and have committed $100 million to date. And in the last round of our virtual incubation program, and we received almost 140 applicants, and this is post MVP with pitch decks and everything and traction. And 2 of our startup graduates in the last month received $1.8 million in investments. And so for sustainability and growth, and since we offer those true end-to-end services from Venture Builder, which we're piloting now and we're very excited about, loan and VC offerings, you have to have a robust data collection and analysis. So aside from all the milestone tracking, mentorship sessions, and training that we report on for our incubation, I'll give you an example from our innovation team and how we use data to build communities as well. I love how Dr. Neeraj mentioned the soul of an ecosystem and the importance of innovation, and that's so critical. Earlier this year, Amal, that we introduced an innovation vertical at WIDE. Dr. Samantha Horstman and Trey Gady developed an entire innovation certification program from lab to market, collecting years of experience and data from over 16 cohorts. And we're now truly leveraging our amazing partners such as KAUST, right? Hattan, we have our joint IP commercialization program that we'll be launching together in January, inshallah. And this contributes back again to the diversification of our portfolio. So most important, it all comes back to making sure that we're making the decisions that are benchmarked and evidence-based. And you can only achieve this by putting together the proper data sets. And so the result is that we can work together with our partners and we can build these effective communities. And we're proof that data collection absolutely builds communities. And they also tell you the need as well that's in the market, right? And so our innovation team leads the IES Society, the Innovation Ecosystem Society. We have over 1,300 members of entrepreneurs, scientists, innovators, mentors, and we'll be scaling it across the kingdom, inshallah, in 2021. But this has been built on analyzing data in our programs, seeing where the needs are, listening to our startups and offering the support they need to be successful. And of course, it's beneficial for both of us because it also offers feedstock for us. So we have these ambitious goals in the vision of our kingdom, including behavior change in the ecosystem, successful startup growth and exits, portfolio diversification, and most importantly, adding value back to the kingdom. We need consistent monitoring, tracking, and evaluation along the way. It's social research 101. And in order for us to pinpoint our successes, we need to collect data, ensure data-driven decision-making so we can replicate our model of excellence, right? And this is actually our North Star in WISE. You know, we pilot everything, we use our outcomes to develop strategy, programs, and innovative initiatives to engage our ecosystem. So I strongly believe that having this in place, it will also give you the confidence that you need to make the right decisions when addressing the gaps in the market as well. So there's so many benefits, and absolutely for sustainability and growth, you need to have the right data, you need to have the right framework in place in your ecosystems.
You're absolutely right. I mean, and we know that this actually comes in every part, you know, of the journey, obviously. And maybe the reason I said that some of the institutions do avoid that sometimes, because maybe it's lack of knowledge sometimes, maybe it's the lack of like knowing what to measure and when to measure. Is it number of entrepreneurs, or is it number of entrepreneurs funded, or is it number of entrepreneurs exited, and what stage, what should I focus on, you know? So I think maybe just a quick remark here, Sarah, of beginning ecosystems that did not put this in place, you know, and did not put the tracking part, where should they start?
And the thing is, you know, and just to address what you were saying, you know, we are a data-driven society. We want to be. Just last month, we celebrated, you know, the Global Innovation Point. That was amazing. And it was such a powerful message, a sense that we're ready. You know, our ecosystem is flourishing. But to answer your question, data collection starts in the very, very first communication with your startups. You know, we have a robust, you know, back-end system that we've developed. So we know everything about every entrepreneur, the stage they are, their traction, everything. So it's in that first communication. So that way you can monitor and track progress. The team can develop, you know, the solutions to their needs. And at the end of it, you yield a more robust and successful outcome for your programs. We have, alhamdulillah, we're celebrating, you know, a 36% success rate in our incubator. That's higher than the global standard. It's amazing because we properly track our data. And I'm so proud of the systems that we put into place. And I do hope, you know, and this is the takeaway, as you said, I know you saved the most painful, you said, for last, but it is absolutely the most critical, because we need to know where we've been, to know where we are, to know where we're going. And that's how you know it. It's through data collection and analysis.
That's how we should put it. Nicely done, Sarah. I mean, here it's about just figuring out where you are and figuring out how to get there. You definitely need to know, you know, what happens. And as rightly mentioned, it starts all the way, you know, in the beginning. I think I totally agree on that. And even in the deciding on what sort of entrepreneurial ecosystem do I need, right? So you need that data collection to understand. And it's been a pleasure, and I would love to extend more and more, but time actually is not in our favor all the time, especially with entrepreneurs. You know, we're always tight in time and we're always running and rushing. So in order to close the session, I'd like to hear, you know, like a 20, 30 seconds words of wisdom from each one of you to everyone who's watching us here today in different parts of the world. Final messages on building entrepreneurial ecosystems. Dr. Neeraj.
Yes, I think to sum up, I think what I feel we need to do as ecosystem builders is really build for people to succeed. You know, we are actually creating environments for people to grow and realize their aspirations and be bold in their thinking and doing. And that becomes the key for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Dan.
Sure. I think the critical takeaway I would provide for folks is that they should be advocating tirelessly with not only the public sector, public policymakers to infuse capital and resources for support for entrepreneurship, but also to collaborate with everyone in the ecosystem, especially corporate and individual funders who can provide that support as well. It's a community, it's not an individual sport. So we need to play together and support those entrepreneurs so they can be successful.
Absolutely. To you, Dr. Zeger.
Well, thank you very much. Eliminate the blame culture. Accept failure. Fail fast. Fail many times. Fail fast. If you fail many times, you're also trying many times.
So we'll fail gracefully all the way, with very measured steps of failure. Thank you so much, Dr. Zeger. Hattan.
Thank you, Amal. And actually, I wanted to agree and I wanted to add to what everything has been mentioned in here. I wanted to address the entrepreneurs. And I wanted to tell them it's prime time now for entrepreneurship. This is what the history has told us. And it's entrepreneurship and innovation happens when big global shifts takes place. And actually, it's a prime opportunity for that. We have seen this in the financial credit crunch in 2007 to 2008. We've seen this in the Great Depression. We've seen this in different global depressions took place, where you see prime opportunities came out, where the shared economy was born in the midst of the financial credit crisis. And I'm sure we're in the midst now of this global crazy pandemic, but it's a prime opportunity now for you as entrepreneurs to create, innovate, and leverage all the support system that you have around you to create an impact. And for those who are interested, we're happy to support, we're happy to help, we're happy to soft land. If you're interested in science and innovation, we'll be happy to soft land and support and work with you towards that goals. And for those partners who are listening to us, we would love to work with you, including our general panelists in here. I'm really humbled to be with you in here today, and would love to explore further collaborations. And conclude with thank you, Amal, and thank you for the organizers, YUEA and Prince Fahad, and all the organizers who were involved in pulling this together in this difficult time. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And partners will start contacting you, Hattan. So we'll see and hear more about that very soon.
Yep. We're ready for it.
Thank you. Dr. Sarah, the entrepreneur in you, what would it say to the rest of the entrepreneurs? Say, I didn't ask you about numbers. We want the soul of the entrepreneur.
For the entrepreneurs, really, aside from, all of the challenges and everything, don't stop. Don't stop. And I think that you're also an entrepreneur. I think all of us, I'm proud to be part of an organization that really, truly provides a true end-to-end service and the tools that startups need to be successful. And I think that is what we need to do, is work together. As I mentioned, Hattan, and also with you, Amal, and with everyone who really cares about the journey, because it's a hard one. It's a struggle. And by giving them the tools that they need to succeed, we're going to reach our ambitious goals, absolutely. So thank you so much for this opportunity. It was an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to continuing the conversation and looking forward to seeing how we'll continue to grow together. Thank you, Amal.
Well said to all of you. I'm just closing here with your words. Dr. Neeraj, design for all and keep recreating. Dan, support and mentor. That's what's going to help an entrepreneur to build that journey. Dr. Zeger, keep failing and just learn and be better at it while at it. Hattan, all the partners, start working and contacting, cows. They're ready to work with you. And Sarah, don't stop. This is not an easy journey. We understand that entrepreneurs change economies, change their social settings, and they change themselves, and they become examples for all. Not an easy journey, but very rewarding, and obviously could impact the globe. Thank you so much and dearly for all your genuine advices, your genuine words. For the last session of the Young Entrepreneurs Alliance for today, and I want to thank you dearly for staying with us until this moment. Have a wonderful day or evening, and thank you so much. And entrepreneurs, do not stop. Thank you.
Your Royal Highness Prince Fahad bin Mansour bin Nasser bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Chair of the G20 YEA Saudi Arabia 2020, distinguished summit guests and delegates, dear friends, as day one of the G20 YEA Virtual Summit Saudi Arabia 2020 draws to a close, I wish to express my gratitude and appreciation to all of you for having participated in this rich and lively event with such interest and enthusiasm. I believe I am speaking on behalf of everyone here when I say we are encouraged by the attendance of so many of us here. It is such a pleasure to be with you at one of the most insightful gatherings of young entrepreneurs. It is also an honor to be entrusted with delivering the closing remarks at an event that brings together such eminent young people from different parts of the world. It has been a truly inspiring day for me. Today, we had remarkable exchanges, fruitful discussions, and unique insights. We have learned a lot from panel discussions delivered by amazing speakers and panelists who have shared their interesting works and ideas. On behalf of the Summit's team, I thank all our speakers and panelists for delivering such important materials so that all of us can deepen our knowledge. The discussions we witnessed today raised important issues and innovative ideas. We discussed the first of the three key topics of the summit, entrepreneurship and the economy. We learned about the impact of entrepreneurship on the economy, how products and services developed by entrepreneurs stimulate business and sectors further economic development, how technology and service development open new markets and help in creating financial stability and growth, and the development of social change that leads to a better quality of life, provide access for those in underprivileged communities and nurture communities. We also heard about the pre and post-COVID-19 eras and the transformation into the new normal, how to adapt business to thrive within the new normal, how to develop digital technologies and communications in a seamless open connectivity, unicorn companies and the potential of development in the region, the current trends that impact on entrepreneurs, and the challenges and opportunities of doing business across borders, as well as innovation, risk-taking, bold moves, and making a real systematic change. We also explored how to build and replicate a successful entrepreneurial ecosystem, including knowledge and resource sharing, mentorship and coaching, and learning from successful ecosystems. Dear friends, I would like to stress on the theme of our summit. Entrepreneurship is a source of innovation and resilience. We are all aware of the vital work youth are doing in youth-led social entrepreneurship, research and innovation, and how youth can drive the adoption of responsible and sustainable consumption and production patterns for more resilient communities. Key takeaways from the day one of the summit are agility and speed entrepreneurs took to setting solutions and delivering on their community's needs, the importance of contributing to the solution. Concentrating on human development and capital is key for entrepreneurial ecosystems. People coming together and building together. It's about empathy and trust. And last, the power of education in the creation of entrepreneurial excellence. I believe that with greater investment, more business and entrepreneurship opportunities, skills training and knowledge transfer, creation of more jobs for our people and youth empowerment, we can definitely achieve our goals because our determination is firm. Distinguished guests, allow me to humbly offer a few words of gratitude to those of you who have helped make day one of this summit a success. We would like to express our appreciation to the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia under the wise leadership of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, and His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, for the inspiring role they play in creating a positive and stimulating environment for youth entrepreneurship and their commitment to youth empowerment and SMEs, entrepreneurship, privatization, investments in youth industries, as stipulated by the Transformation Strategy, Saudi Vision 2030. We greatly appreciate the help we have received from His Royal Highness, Prince Fahad bin Mansour. Thank you, Prince Fahad, for your continuous support to youth empowerment and for chairing this summit and YEA. We are also grateful to all those who have been involved in the management of the summit, including the entire summit's team, organizers, speakers, panel members, and moderators who have been working tirelessly to ensure we succeed your expectations. We also wish to thank all our sponsors whose contribution we highly value, including Global Alliance, strategy partners, governmental partners, knowledge partners, ecosystem partners, and of course, our summit partners. A huge thanks to the members of the media in covering all our activities and disseminating the views expressed here to a wider readership and audience. And finally, of course, we cannot fail to thank you, our guests, for joining and taking part in this summit from all over the world. Welcome once again to Saudi Arabia, and thank you for your attention, participation, and time. With these words, I one of the G20 YEA Virtual Summit Saudi Arabia 2020. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow at 2 p.m. Saudi Arabia time. Thank you.
There is a role model for every successful person who draws their paths with inspiration and faith, cultivates hopes in them, and helps turn them into reality. For the Saudi youth, there is one person who brought out the positive energy in them and placed them in the limelight.
لكن لدى السعوديين همة، لدينا جبل دائما نضرب فيه المثل اسمه جبل طويق. لدى السعوديين همة مثل هذا الجبل. همة السعوديين لن تنكسر إذا انهدت هذا الجبل وتساوى بالأرض.
That is why Saudi youth consider him a role model for their success and a symbol for their future. Prince Mohammed lit the torch of vigor and excellence for the Saudi youth. He showed them the roadmap to the future. They derive sincerity and hard work from him. They also derive pride in the homeland from him. The kingdom began to accomplish its tremendous achievements in all fields.